Welcome to Parents Make a Difference. I'm your host, Josie PV. Look around, and in the world, we see problems, we see obstacles. We might be thinking of things we wish were not happening. Is there something that you can think of that you just wish was not happening? Or wish was different? I love the saying, be the change you want to see in the world. I would love for ourselves and our kids to have that view. Gandhi had said that. And today, our host is an example of that. Today, I have joining us Nadia Hohn, and she is an award-winning author, an educator, and I am excited for you to hear her story, her journey so far. Welcome, Nadia, to Parents Make a Difference.
Thank you for having me, Josie.
Now, I understand that your book, Malika's Costume, did I say that right?
Malika.
Malika. Malika's Costume was one of the books that TD had given to all the grade ones in 2021.
That's right. That's right.
Pretty exciting. Actually,
Mm.
I was teaching grade one that year,
Oh,
and I
wow.
received it in my class.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it was very exciting. I taught grade one and I've given that book out before, so it was really an honor to be have my book chosen for a giveaway that year.
So the giveaway went to all the schools in what area?
In Canada. So it was given out to all the first graders in Canada. So that was over 550,000 copies. So it was an astounding number.
That is something to be proud of. That's
Thank
wonderful.
you. Thanks.
That's
And they
wonderful.
turned actually that was the first year they decided to take that book, the TD grade one book giveaway. They decided to take that book and then turn it into a float for the Santa Claus parade.
I know,
So
I remember you stating that, or you showing that
Mhm.
when you came to visit our school, and I was excited to hear your story. That
Awesome.
was amazing. So they created a float from that
Yes.
book. Is that correct?
Yes. That's correct. Mhm.
And so when did you know that you wanted to be an author or that you really enjoyed writing?
I knew I enjoyed writing it from a very young age. I was a child, and I just enjoyed. Enjoyed actually using a pen and printing words and putting them on paper. So I always loved actual writing, printing, and then in terms of creating my own stories, I love that. So any chance I got to do that, I just um I did it, but it was more like on as I did it like or I guess I would create character, like, I'd watch a Miss Universe or Miss, Can America or Canada pageant or whatever, Miss World, and then sometimes I would imagine the lives of the actual participants. So I would
Hmm.
draw a picture of them and imagine what their life was like and list facts about them. And then it was probably around the age of 8 or 9 when I started recall actually enjoying the writing process, and I wrote a story, like a picture book, and then it was like it was fun. It was just something I enjoyed. So I would do it for a school assignment, but then it was like I'm like, "Oh, I don't have to wait for the teacher to give me an assignment." And I could actually just write, and that started probably around age 11, 12. So I started keeping a diary and that's kind of where it took off. I enjoyed writing, and then in high school, I did a lot of writing for my high school paper, and keeping a diary again. And I knew I enjoyed writing, but it was still quite some time before I knew I could become an author
Hmm.
because I thought you had to be only certain people were authors, or you had to be famous, or you had to be exceptionally good. I didn't know any authors. I certainly didn't think I could be an author. I didn't know how to do that. I just so I never really allowed myself to even dream that possibility. And then it wasn't until I became a teacher myself and I started, it was the year that just before I went to teach at the Afrocentric school, um, Afrocentric alternative school. It was the first year it was opening. It was 2009, and I was looking for books. I was teaching grade one as well, and I was looking for books for my students to put in my classroom, and I was finding it hard to find books that were um, age appropriate, that were for grade at a grade one level, that celebrated Black culture, Black experiences, Black history, and or if I found them, there were so few. And I was
Mhm.
looking in Canada. I went to a couple bookstores in the U.S., and that's when ideas for stories started coming back to me. And then I was like, oh, okay, let me start writing them down. And then I took a writing class shortly after starting teaching at that school, and that was a writing for children class. It became like a snowball. I started to find out about conferences and so forth. So once I got into that, then I started, oh, okay, this could happen. This is real. I'm meeting authors. They're real people like me and you. And they're just everyday people, and this is possible. So that's how it all happened.
And for those that do not know your book, um, tell us what the book is about and what message you're giving or what message you as an author wanted to portray in this book that was sent out to all the grade ones in
Well,
Canada.
it that's a great question. It was an assignment. So in 2010, my teacher gave us an assignment. We had to write a picture book and or a manuscript. It was just like just write the picture book. You're not making pictures, just write it. And I knew right away like the elements that I love in all my stories. I love culture. I knew that there was going to be a celebration of some sort of food, and then I started to incorporate aspects of my own family history into the story.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents are from Jamaica, so I often Caribbean immigrants, when they come to Canada, there's a lot of family separation. So this little girl I wrote about, her mom was living in Canada, and Malika was living in the Caribbean with her grandmother because her mom was away and working and sending money back home. And another element was about carnival. And I grew up going to Caravana Parade, but my dad would take my sister and I. So I knew I loved Caravana and carnival and celebration. So I kind of worked them both in. And I think the message of this story, it's about a little girl who um, it's carnival time. It's the first carnival since her mother's gone to Canada to work. And the money that mom's supposed to send back home doesn't come in time for her carnival costume. But Malika has been so used to being part of carnival. And I mean, the whole tragedy of it all with her mom gone and not having any money, she's determined to be a part of the carnival. So the story is really about how we can use our own resourcefulness to make our dreams come true.
I love
And
that.
Malika tries to figure out how to do this. And her grandmother tries to help her. And you'll just have to read the book to find out. But it's
That's
all
right.
about how
I read
we,
it, but yes,
yes,
we don't want to tell them everything.
no, exactly.
But I remember you stating something about not seeing enough books
Yes,
from different cultures. And
yes,
because of that, I mean, we can complain about the problem or we
yes,
can do something. And you
yes,
chose to do something.
yes. So I essentially wanted to create a book that I would have wanted to read as a child. So when I wrote this story, I wrote it for the assignment. I got an A. He gave me an A minus because I don't like editing too much. So it's like if you edit it, you got an A plus.
Mhm.
And it sat on my computer for a couple years because I just didn't think I first of all I had Caribbean patois in it. It had the story, and I just didn't know if it was good enough. I didn't even know how to take that next step. But I thankfully I met the right person, who was a publisher at the time, and I she also believed in the story. She saw a vision for it. She said the story's gonna be big. She really liked it, and she made me feel she was the first person to make me feel that I could publish this book. And once that happened, I was just like, you know what, the sky's the limit, and I could help to fill the library or the lack of books. Thankfully, there have been a lot more publishers who've opened doors for authors like me, Black authors, authors of color, Indigenous authors to tell these stories.
Wonderful.
But I really wanted to see more diversity on the shelves, and also when I go to schools and when I teach, I wanted to see books that look like the kids I teach.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We're working all on doing more of that. I know even in my own classroom, I'm bringing in puppets of all different shades and dolls
Yes.
and trying to get more
Yes.
books on that. It's
Yes.
important. But, so many of us might spend the time saying, I wish there was more of this. I wish there was more of that. But
Yes.
you actually took action. And I want our kids to be kids that take action instead of complaining about the problem, but taking action, doing something about it.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
just as you did, because I really love that quote, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yes.
We can all be that. So, I mean, we all have different things that I wish,
Mhm.
dot, dot, dot,
Yes.
and you wished for something and then took action. And for those listening out there, I mean, it didn't just happen overnight. You kept it on a shelf for a while or on your computer for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
So if you've
I
got a dream out there and
yes.
you started it and didn't complete it, that's okay. There's hope. Nadia did the
Mhm.
same thing.
Yes. Yeah, and thankfully, I told people about it. So they, the principal I worked with, "Oh, yeah, don't you write books? I heard about a contest." And that's the thing, when you tell people about it, sometimes they will tell you about these doors that you just didn't know about. A
Mhm.
friend told me about the workshop where I met my publisher. It's like,
And
"Hey, you write books. I saw this and thought of you." Like, you know what I mean? So those are the things that why I think it's important not only just to do it, but also to tell people.
Mhm. I know even when you're fearful of it, but if you just keep it to yourself, we all have gifts and talents. And if we share those gifts and talents, do something in that field, and then, try to help others with that gift and talent. I think that not allowing the fear to hold us down, that, the world will already be a little bit better because of that,
Mhm.
right? Because we all can help each other just a little bit. And your stories are helping kids who don't see themselves in a lot of these picture books. And now they are. And you don't, you have many stories that you've written. How many stories have you written so far?
I've written several, but the ones that are published, my ninth book just came out in September, and it's called The Anti-Racist Kitchen: 21 Stories and Recipes.
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How were your parents an influence in any way during this journey of
I
writing?
think my parents, in two ways, um, I think they have a serious work ethic. And I learned that from them. I learned
Hmm.
the value of working hard to make your dreams come true. I have to say they came to Canada with not much, and very also they're like most of our family lives in other parts of the world. So, coming to Canada, being young, and being very diligent and working hard, I learned a lot from them in that sense. I also think I just had an active imagination, and I didn't realize it till just over the pandemic because I was spending so much time with my parents that my mother is a natural storyteller, and so is my
Hmm.
dad. So I started to think, maybe I did get some of that storytelling from them. They don't read. They're not huge readers. But they encouraged us to read. My dad took us to the library when we were kids, my sister and I.
They knew the importance of books then if
Yeah,
they're
they
taking you to the
did.
library.
Yeah, they valued education. So I think in those respects, that's how they really inspired me. Um, yeah, and I just had this love of my Jamaican culture. I didn't go to Jamaica until I was an adult, but I
Hmm.
just had this love of it. And certainly my dad, he listens to lots of music, different kinds of music, but especially the Jamaican music. Like I grew up with quite a library, extensive library, and the foods they cooked at home. We didn't go to Jamaica as kids, but we ate Jamaican as kids. So we had
Mhm.
a lot of the dishes that are eaten in Jamaica. So I think those are the ways that my parents influenced me and the kinds of stories. They also helped to instill a pride in me, even though I might have experienced even though I experienced some discrimination at school, and but they always gave me a sense that, being proud of my blackness and of where I'm from, and they did what they could in terms of showing me like help me to learn about people like Dr. Martin Luther King and certainly about some of the heroes. So that's ways that they've inspired me and I think it influenced me.
I think that all parents listening out there can inspire their kids, just as yours have done for you in different ways, right?
Mhm.
Just helping them to be proud of whatever heritage, whatever culture they come from, and now there's a lot more different cultures in one person, and to be proud of all of them, to be proud that there's a mixture, to just be there as parents and encouraging by bringing you to the library. I think that's um, important for actually any child, no matter what direction they decide to go, because that is helping them to go and find what they love to do, what they want to learn about, what they love to learn about. And there's always more information out there, and to love reading. If we can help our children to have a love for reading, then they will be, whatever they're passionate about, they'll be able to always educate themselves and grow in that area and move in a direction, to excel in whatever they choose to do, or to wherever they choose to grow in. What advice do you give um, to help us parents and educators to help our kids enjoy writing?
I think reading and writing are so connected. I think, parents give your children permission to read the things that interest them.
Mhm.
I know for a time comic books were discouraged, even in my family, but we've learned that comic books is it's still literacy. Kids are still able to some kids do really well and excel at reading graphic novels, and now we have this extremely popular and growing industry of graphic novels, and you're looking for graphic novel writers and people to and publishers that specialize in them, and these books do extremely well. So I think, allow your kids to read what interests them, read comics, read graphic novels, read picture books, and also to read to your kids early, and parents model some of those reading habits. Um, I find that I enjoy audiobooks, and
Mhm.
those are often what I read. I go through them quite frequently, so I'll listen them as I'm working on something, as I'm washing the dishes or cooking. But those are I find reading is very connected to writing, and then writing, I like the idea, and I try to stick to this, but to write a page each morning
Mhm.
or write like for a short period of time every day, just to even just so it's good for your mind, just in terms of getting things on paper, and yeah, even also to record, to journal about what you went through and experience. So and that could be writing out things or making lists. I love to make lists, so that's just listing some of the things that you learned for the day. um yeah, so those are the ways I think I do know that yeah, it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I think parents um have a really important role to play. If you can help to give your child that gift of literacy and a love of books, that is a wonderful thing you can do. Um, but even to start, you can even go to the library. There's so many wonderful programs there that are free as well.
I mean, it's great advice even for us adults if we don't have time to read. audiobooks is easily accessible.
Yeah, for sure.
And
As you drive to,
hmm, right, and while you're doing the dishes, I try to do that too, the audio, and it's stimulating learning something new, right?
mhm,
Sometimes you don't realize it until you learn something new. You're like, oh my goodness, it's been a while. This is
yes,
exciting.
yeah,
So,
it's a lot of
parents, you
fun.
could do this too.
Yes.
Reading if you don't already. But
Mhm.
um, helping kids to find love of reading. And you're right, graphic novels. I have one of my sons um, who, you know, didn't enjoy reading much, but we ended up getting a lot of graphic novels because that excited him. And then he became he was a great reader and he was always reading. He was reading too much. I had to take him away. I'm like,
Aw.
go do something. Don't just read. I
That
thought, what
sounds
an
like
extreme.
that sounds like me as a kid.
Was it?
Yeah.
So, but it was the graphic novels that got him moving. So,
Yeah.
yes, that's a very good point. Comic books or graphic novels, whatever gets them there. I remember speaking to another teacher, and she said her son didn't like to read, but then he was always reading sports. He ended up being an editor for a sports magazine,
Oh,
something
that's
like that, I recall. I
amazing.
thought, look at that, where that
There you
brought
go,
him,
right?
you know?
Yep.
So you never know what direction, but I love that,
Mm.
and that you actually started to take action to writing because you probably didn't have the skills at the time. And you went to writing classes and then took little steps to move,
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, I think the desire was there, and I feel like all of the time that I didn't get training because I mean, I took English classes at school and I took a course at university, whatever, but it was not and so I feel like and I was journaling, I journaled quite a bit. So that writing class kind of helped me to hone in and on something specific.
Yes, and you move towards your passion, right? And so
Yeah.
with your passion, you made something great happen. And I'm
Mhm.
sure many more great things will happen
Yeah.
because of it in the future. You just keep working with that, what your heart's telling you to do. And so that I thought that was great to hear that you didn't have it all together. People think, oh, they made it because they have it all together, or they're really great at this. But no, it's a skill. When we have something we're passionate about, we can strengthen the skills that we need to move us forward. And that is great advice for parents who are wanting to move forward in something maybe they want to achieve, and helping their kids to move forward in something they want to achieve. Sometimes it is taking a course, learning from others, but finding people who are doing it, whatever it is you
Yes.
want,
Yes.
and saying, okay, let me see what kind of steps did they take.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's great. So I do love your story. I really do,
thank
because it
you.
gives hope, and it does what I'm trying to live my life as. Be the change you want to see in the world. I want my kids to try to live like that. I want kids at school, people, parents listening, your kids, to be the change they want to see in the world,
Mhm.
because that's how we move forward. And instead of being part of the problem, we'll be part of the solutions.
That's right.
And that's what you're doing. So, Nadia, I appreciate your time so much with us.
Thank you for having me, and definitely I like what you're doing and the vision for your program, and I hope this will help and inspire others.
I'm inspired by it, so I'm sure others will be too. Parents, remember, you make a difference.